Record to cloud. You're the host. You should be able to share your screen.
Are y'all seeing all of the loveliness that I'm organizing over here?
There you go.
All right.
Steph, call me if you have a problem.
Wonderful. Will do. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Just give me 1 second, guys, because guess who is overwhelmed this morning a little bit with doing our new Ignite series, not just the new Ignite series, but also doing it via Zoom. And so this is new for me, and I think I got it though. So I think we're gonna have a good time, and I think we're going to learn a whole lot of fun stuff about the buyer consultation, getting our buyers to commit to working with us, and so that we know what our pipeline of business looks like, and we don't have any moments where we're like, I've been investing time with this buyer, and now they decided to go work with another agent, because that's the absolute pits. And I think once we get started and I get a little bit more comfortable behind the screen of this computer, I think we're going to be able to rock and roll. Don't you guys agree?
You're doing great, Stephanie.
Thank you. Just give me a second to get up in here and move everything where it needs to be. Okay, so have you guys opened up your participation guides? You guys have all of your information in front of you that you need to use to run through the series, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm opening up my guide. I'm just going to move it over to the side out of our way. And I'm going to get back here on our screen for the slideshow. So first things first, guys, how has Ignite been so far?
It's been very informative.
Okay. Well, I want to start by introducing myself. Number one, I'm Stephanie Grass. I am an agent in the Market Center in Mandeville. You may have met me before, maybe you haven't. If you haven't and you run into me in the hallway, you should absolutely come introduce yourself to me. I love helping out our agents in the Market Center, the old ones, the new ones, anything that I can do to help you, any questions that you have. Even though I've been a real estate agent for about 5 years now, I find a lot of joy in learning from what the new agents are doing, because I feel like you guys have different experiences and we can all kind of mastermind from one another. So if I haven't met you face to face, I'd love an opportunity to just say hi. Of course, if that ends up being something a little bit more in depth, we have to take a coffee meeting or something like that, just be in touch. I'd love to dig a little bit deeper into what the buyer consultation looks like and what my specific buyer consultation that I use when I work with new clients looks like. So, and I'm willing to share that with you, but for all intents and purposes of this course, and like I said before, the fact that it's a newer course, I'd like to try to stick to the script today. And unfortunately, that also might look a little bit this time like I'm going from the paper. So I apologize in advance for that, because normally I can kind of put my own flair in it and personality, but I want to make sure that we know exactly what this new Ignite looks like. So I'm going to stick as close to script as possible. I'd like to ask you guys, has there been anything that you want to share so far on the through your Ignite journey? Anything that you've learned in the last couple of sessions that you want to share with the group? Is everybody able to, is everybody unmuted that's in the room?
Stephanie, I wanted to give other people a chance to talk. I didn't want to be the only one talking.
Okay, let me see if everybody, hold on a second. I'm going to go back here and see if I can unmute everybody in the room. Unmute everybody. How's that? You guys with us?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm going to keep you guys unmuted. However, if you're not talking and you want to put yourself back on mute, that would be fantastic too, just in case the dog barks or the doorbell rings or whatever. But I want you guys to be able to unmute yourself when you have something to contribute to this class. This is you guys' class, so let's bring as much energy and as much conversation about things as you absolutely can. So back to my question, has there been anything that you guys have experienced in the beginning of your of Ignite that you'd like to share today?
I greatly appreciate the scripts because not knowing what to say is a huge thing for me.
Okay, wonderful. So are you implementing a script partner and some script and role playing time into your daily time blocking?
I don't have a script partner, but I am doing it in daily time blocking myself.
Okay, I'm going to make a suggestion, and I'm sure Coach Anthony would probably agree. If you have an opportunity to find yourself a script partner, you should absolutely do that. Sometimes you can find one in the Market Center. Other agents who are just, they want to practice scripts and role play. It's part of our job as real estate agents. Gary Keller has identified that as one of our 5 roles of our job as agents: practice scripts and role play, negotiate contracts, go on appointments, write contracts, and negotiate. If you guys don't have a script and role play partner in the Market Center that you want to work with, you can also look on our Keller Williams Facebook groups. And a lot of times, if you just put out an SOS, you might find yourself with a script partner from a different Market Center, which is always pretty interesting too, because it's nice to see what people are doing outside of our Market Center and outside of our region. So I'm just going to throw that out there for you. Also, don't be afraid to have multiple script and role play partners. You might find that you're stronger in one of your groups than you are in a different one. So, you want to be the sum of the 5 people that you're participating with. And I think that it's nice to be like, in this particular group, I'm the strong one, so I can help other people with their scripts. But in the Thursday one that I make my call on, that script partner is actually probably better than I am. So then I'm constantly learning something, if that makes sense, right?
Definitely makes sense.
Perfect. So some things that successful agents do every day. Number one, right, we grow our business and we run our business. Number one, we lead generate for buyers and sellers. Lead generating is like the cornerstone to our business. It's why we're doing this Ignite series. So we know where to find our business, how to organize our business, and then how to manipulate our way through a transaction from start to finish, preparing CMAs, preparing buyer contracts, everything from contract to closing. We make our seller listing presentations and get our listings. Today, we make our buyer presentation and get listings. And we preview our real estate. So going on appointments to preview property that's either marketed as a for sale by owner, or properties that are even on the MLS and marketed by other agents, just to learn and understand the inventory and keep real estate top of mind. Normally, if we were in class and I could see everybody's shining faces, I'd ask how many people have already participated in a buyer consultation. But because there's only 5 of us, can everybody just kind of tell me, have you participated and conducted a buyer consultation at this point? Guys, you out there?
I have done buyers consultations. I've worked with buyers already.
Okay, so have you been able to see the value of a buyer consultation and how it impacts the rest of the transaction and the respect that your buyers have for you as an agent and what you're going to bring to the table in working with them? Has that been something that you felt has been a positive or negative impact on your relationship with your potential client?
Absolutely. It definitely helps because your buyer's looking for somebody that they can trust and somebody that knows what they're doing, because they don't. So they're looking for guidance.
Yeah. So my favorite thing about the buyer consultation is that I feel like it sets the expectation for me and for the client up front. It gives the same awareness to the process that we do when we go on a listing presentation. It prepares the buyer to understand what my value proposition is, and how the experience by working with Stephanie Grass, a Keller Williams real estate agent, is going to differ from working with John Smith with XYZ Real Estate that they may also be interviewing. So, one thing that I always tell folks when they ask me, like, so who do you do a buyer consultation with? I do a buyer consultation with every single person that I'm willing to work with. It hadn't always been like that for me. There was a point in my career, especially early on, mostly because I was afraid in the beginning that if I sat down and I told people what I knew, then they would probably see what I didn't know. And then I would lessen my chances of actually being able to earn their business. So it was kind of like, surprise, we'll figure it out as we go along. Well, luckily for me, I joined a high functioning team in 2018 where doing a buyer consultation was required for all of our clients. Anybody who came as a client for our team had to have started the process with a buyer consultation. And at first, I don't want to say I was begrudgingly doing buyer consults, but my confidence wasn't there, right? Like, I was just afraid this was a chance for them to say, we appreciate your time, but we don't want to do business with you. And I didn't want to hear the words no. Well, clearly, as soon as I started doing them, what I realized is the more I did them, the more I learned about real estate. And number two, guys, it was just better to find out up front if they didn't want to work with me. I'd rather somebody tell me after the 45-minute buyer consultation that we weren't going to be a good fit than it would be for me to spend countless hours, basically, I mean, to be perfectly honest, sometimes even sleepless nights, scouring the internet, trying to squeeze in MLS searches, sending them emails for things, previewing properties that were on the market or weren't off the market to get in front of them simply to find out they weren't going to work with me anyway. This was a real good opportunity for us to just kind of see where we were, build a foundation, nurture the relationship, show them a little bit about how I work and how to buy real estate. And ultimately, those were the two biggest key points in my buyer consultation. It's exactly what I said when I wanted to start the hey guys, I think it's time that we maybe sit down and take this to the next level. How do you feel about joining me for a buyer consult? And I would say verbatim, this is a chance for me to teach you how to purchase a home in our market and show you how I work. And that's truly what I believe a buyer consult is. So if you've ever been in my class before, you've heard me say, we're going to teach you how to purchase real estate in our market, and I'm going to show you how I work. That way, at the end of the consultation, the client can make a decision, like, do they feel confident in my ability to help them navigate the transaction? And are they willing to work within the parameters of my business? Because my business may look very different from your business. For example, I don't really like to work on Fridays. It's just kind of a rule that I have. So I set that expectation up for my clients in the buyer consultation and explain to them, if you're going to want to see properties on a Friday, that's not a problem. We just need to set that expectation up front, and I need to be able to plan my calendar around you and your needs. And I can choose if I want to work with that client, and that client can choose if they want to work with me versus spend all that time, right? And then end up in the end of the day going, I didn't meet their expectations, or they made me feel like I was being asked to do something that I really wasn't comfortable doing. So the buyer consultation went from being something that I was like nervous about and dreaded doing because I was dreading not getting the business to being like, this is really going to set the tone for where my business is coming from. Are we clear? And does that kind of make sense as why I became a big proponent for using a buyer consult?
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic. So the goal of our time today is going to be to learn how to prepare and deliver a consultation and to get a buyer rep agreement signed. Well, we all know that a buyer rep agreement is really probably just about worth what the paper it's written on, right? Like, a buyer can get out of a buyer agreement just like a seller can get out of a listing agreement. But there is something about being able to look somebody in the eye at a buyer consultation, or even on a Zoom, because even though I'm anxious about doing an Ignite session via Zoom, I have done some really awesome and successful Zoom buyer consultations. But being able to just offer somebody a chance to say, this is a handshake on paper, and if not happy with our service or something changes at some point, we're willing to, to part ways, and like, I'm not going to hold anything against you as far as a binding contract, but it is something to be able to look back at and say, I know who I'm working with. And I don't know, do you guys have any other reasons why you think a buyer consultation agreement, a buyer representation agreement might be important before you start working with a buyer?
What if they have another agent, I mean, that can be a reason you have them to sign the agreement, I would think. Ask
Yeah,
them if they have an
that is a
agent.
good reason. That's a very good reason. So you may sit down with somebody only to find out that they've actually already been working with an agent, right?
Right.
Yeah. Anybody else have any reason why a buyer consultation is a pretty important, a buyer representation agreement is important to have before working with a buyer? That's probably the one that people are going to say the most, is like when you pull the form out and they go, I've already signed one of these, you're like, oh, well, then that means you're working with somebody. But I'm going to tell you the reason why I like to have a buyer representation agreement. At some point today, I'm going to say representation, and I'm going to say it correctly, so y'all don't go anywhere. The reason why I like to have a buyer rep agreement signed, so one of the things I'll tell folks when they start asking me about real estate, and I get a lot from family and friends, and I'm not too shy to say to a friend or a family member, I really appreciate you picking my brain when it comes to real estate. However, there are only certain things that I'm able legally and truly time constraint wise that I'm able and willing to do by somebody that I don't personally represent. So the buyer representation agreement gives me the ability to conduct business as a fiduciary to a client. So they're relinquishing that to me and saying like, yeah, we know that you're our agent, and so you're able to talk and discuss these things with us. Also, guys, I want to know who I'm spending my time on, and I will tell one of my with 1 foot in, 1 foot out clients, like, listen, I can't dedicate the time that you're going to ask me to without limiting the time that I'm going to have to work with other clients. So my A clients, my people that have signed a buyer rep agreement that are raw, I call them raw, and that's an acronym: ready, able, and willing. They're physically like, I'm ready to make a purchase. There's nothing stopping them, like as far as emotional ties to something. They're able, as in they have pre-approved financing, and they're willing to work with me as a real estate professional. Those raw clients, my A buyers, are the people that I focus on. So basically, if you're not willing to sign the buyer representation agreement with me, I don't feel any kind of need to really spend hours and hours giving you information and taking you on showings, opening up doors. Now, that is not to say that it's not important to cultivate relationships and show people that I am a source for information, and you can kind of get some generic stuff from me, but that level of committed service that you're going to give A clients and even B clients is quite different. And if I don't have a representation agreement signed, I just know those people aren't serious about working with me, and I don't, and I'm not serious about working with them. So it's a place where I can literally go and either physically have a sheet printed out and in a file where I can go, all right, today it's time to call Susie Q and touch base with her, or it's it's in my database or whatever, right? A place where I can go back and say, this is who I need to focus on today. Without a buyer representation agreement, you're going to probably spend a significant amount of time working with buyers who ultimately use another agent to purchase a home. That's in my facilitator notes. It's what I basically just said. So on this next screen over here, we have this little chart, set the appointment, prepare the buyer consultation, conduct the buyer consultation. This is kind of where we're gonna roll through today, right? That's page 5 of your participation guide. So the goal of the buyer consultation appointment, guys, it's the opportunity for us to establish that long-term relationship with our buyer. And during the appointment, our goals are going to be to discover their buyer needs and wants, and then to deliver our value proposition and set expectations on how we're going to work to help them find their home of their dream. And then we're going to get them to close with getting that buyer representation agreement signed. Just on a side note, when I conduct my consultation, normally what I say at the end of the consultation is like, hey, now would be a good time for us, if you already like everything that you heard me say and you think that you're like, hey, I want to win with this woman, she's going to be my agent, we can go ahead and sign the document now. But normally when I have a consult set up, I also have showing set up immediately after the consultation. So if I feel like they're still kind of on the fence about what I said, or maybe they just need to like see me in action, I'll normally say, look, we're still going to go out and look at these properties today. However, before you call me and make a decision, if you want to see any other properties, I can give you a chance to kind of think about hiring me as your agent. So let's go look at properties. You can make a decision this afternoon. You can make a decision tomorrow. I'll follow up with you. But essentially, before we start looking at houses again, I'd like for you to have committed by signing the representation agreement. So I'm not gonna, force somebody to sign it before we go see the houses the first time, because I feel like they need like, the one house trial to know if I really know what I'm talking about, like if I can get the e-key to work or whatever. So that's kind of what the gist of the consultation is, right? So the facilitator notes have a question. Ask, what do you need to do to prepare for a meeting that's going to accomplish all three of these goals? What are some of the things that you guys know you're going to need to have prepared in order to accomplish a buyer wants and needs, and get values from the buyers, to deliver your proposition of your value, and to get them to sign a representation? What are the things that you're going to need to have available during your consultation? Are you going to bring a buyer consultation packet maybe?
Okay.
That's a good one. Do you have a buyer consultation packet? What do you bring into your buyer consults?
Buyer agency agreement.
Yes, exactly. Buyer agency agreement, buyer consultation document. I have a form that I also bring. It's I'm going to have to share it with you guys. I tell you what, if you have a pen and paper handy, what I'd like for you to do right now is write down my email address, and either now, actually don't do it now because it's going to pop up in the corner of my screen, and that'll distract me. At the end of this session, if you can, just send me an email, and I'm going to send you my buyer consultation packet, as well as some other forms that I use during my consultation, including the buyer agency agreement. Also, one is called the buyer wants and needs sheets, and it's a document that just has information that I can fill in about the clients, about their lifestyle, and it has their 5 things that they must have, the 5 things that they would like to have, and the 5 things that if I show them a house with that, they're probably going to fire me. So we sit down and go through that form. I also have a form that I have my clients look at and sign off on. It is the do's and don'ts of credit. And actually it's probably more than just credit. It explains like, hey, make sure that while you're packing up your apartment or whatever, that you're not packing your W-2 forms away that your lender might need to see, and don't change your address, and don't pay the bills, don't run up credit, don't pay off credit. It's like just a list of do's and don'ts. And so it's all included in my buyer consultation pack, and I would like to share that with you guys. And I'm totally fine with you rip off and duplicating whatever I have in that packet. So I want to share it with you, but those are some of the things that I bring, and I present them to all the clients. Okay.
Can you bring something like put in that packet whenever you have a buyer consultation, things like about how much to like have on hand, like for not appraisals, for like inspections and everything? Because some people think that they have to pay for inspections and everything. So would it be good to let them know ahead of time? Be sure you put like a certain amount of money away for inspections and stuff like that.
That is a really good question. And yes, I just made an executive decision that I'm going to go off script here a little bit, and I'm going to pull up my buyer consultation package really quickly for you, because I want you to see that I have a page in my packet called Buyers Out of Pocket Expenses. And it is exactly what you just described. It's a form that says, hey, you're going to need roughly 1% of your sale price that you go under contract for your deposit. And you're going to need roughly this amount of money to conduct an inspection. And you're going to need this amount of money to conduct appraisal. And so all of that together is included in my buyer consultation package. And it's discussed and it's signed off on during the consult. And a copy of it is sent over to the buyers so that they have it available. And what it really does a lot of times I feel like they kind of, maybe they don't really remember what I'm saying in that meeting, right? They're probably anxious. Some of these folks, they don't know me. They've just come to me as a referral, and they're just caught up in all of the like excitement of like what's going on and can we go see the houses we sent you? And that's fine. But at least when we get through the process, I can go back and say, remember that time we sat and talked in my office before we went and saw the properties? And I mentioned that you were going to have some out-of-pocket expenses. Well, this is those. So this is part of the buyer consult. This is my package, y'all. I made this pretty much on my own. I think I might have saw some templates that look similar, and I just kind of melted them together and made something that felt like me. But I just kind of scroll through it. You see, I have it set up with a flow chart at the top. That this is the buyer process, and I show the potential clients. First you're selecting a realtor, then you're going to make sure you have your loan approval in line. Because sometimes they come to me and they don't have a pre-approval, and that's great. I can hook them up with a preferred lender in our area, and I just kind of take them through this flow chart, and then I bring them to this. Hey, this is where the rubber meets the road. You're going to need to have some money available in order to make a purchase. And number one is about plus or minus 1% of the sale price of the property. The general home inspection fees here laid out based on what my home inspector that I recommend my clients would use, his pricing. Of course, if they go with a different person, that's on their, they need to verify the pricing up front and what the services that general inspector is going to do. This is the cost for the buyer to pay for a wood destroying insect report. Typically, I try to put that back on the seller to provide a clear WDIR. However, if we can't negotiate it in the contract, and I think it's still important for the buyer to know if the home is free and clear of wood destroying insects, they may be looking to spend upwards of $120. The lender, unless their lender is giving them a credit for the appraisal, and in some cases, if it's like a VA loan or whatever, the lender may not charge an appraisal. They're looking to spend between $400 or $500 on the appraisal. And then we talk about closing costs, because that's one of the fees that buyers don't generally know what closing costs include. And guess what? I'm not too ashamed to tell you that when I was a new agent, I myself didn't know what closing costs included. So not only did I add it in here that it's typically between 3 and 6% of the sale price of the home, I kind of break it down right here just so that after we talk about it, it's in this document and they have something to go back to, that it includes their lender fees, which are, the fees that the lender is charging, if it's Fidelity Bank, the origination fees for that loan, the title company fees, the recording fees in the clerk of court's office to record that mortgage. It's also escrowed homeowners insurance, it's escrowed property taxes, it's escrowed flood insurance if that's needed. It could include escrowed HOAs. And the reason why it's 3 to 6% of the agreed upon sale price is because if the lender is giving them a lender credit for something, or they're using a grant, or if they're in Mandeville, the incorporated city of something, the taxes may be more. If they're in unincorporated, maybe they don't need flood insurance because they're not in a flood zone and they don't want to have it. All those things will vary. And I can't give a client an idea of closing costs until we have a property that we're looking at necessarily. But I can tell you that if you can err on the side of caution and look at the high side, that'll help us better with understanding how much we may need to negotiate. So when I break this down and I go, if you're looking at a $200,000 house and you need, let's just say 4%, that's $8,000 in closing cost plus these fees above. You might need $10,000 available to make a home purchase. Mr. Buyer, do you have $10,000 available? A lot of them are normally going to say no, right? Okay, well, how much money do you have available? Well, I have 5,000. Well, that tells me we're going to have to negotiate some closing costs into this deal. And knowing it up front is better than finding out during the escrow period that these guys don't have enough money to put closing costs and pay for all of these items. You also see I made a note in red that if they need any additional inspections during the due diligence period, like a roof inspection or plumbing or electrical, that sometimes the contractor will charge them for an additional inspection, and that is a non-refundable inspection cost, and it is on the buyer. So if they start getting to the point where they're like, well, we want a pipe and underground pipe video, we want this and that, I mean, they could easily spend a few $100s more in that. And I get both of the buyers to sign that document stating that we reviewed it and they understand it. So does that answer your question? And do you guys think that that's a valuable form to have?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Does anybody have something like that, or something that may have a purpose that serves similarly that they'd like to share with the group?
I'd love to get a copy of this. If I email you, can you send that over?
Absolutely.
After?
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I also include in the end of my buyer packet, this is the buyer loyalty agreement. This is similar to the buyer representation agreement, except it's mine. And it looks a little less contractual, but it does here have what I will do as an exclusive agent. And actually, I'm looking at it right now and I'm already wanting to make a change to it. I want to just put a box that already has check marks in it. But truly, it was set up when I designed it so that I could hand this document over to a buyer and say, these are the things that I'm willing to do. What of these things do you want me to do? I'd like for them to check all of the boxes essentially, right? But these are the things that as a licensed real estate agent, I'm going to do on behalf of my buyer. And these are the duties that as my buyer, I want them to do. And I want them to be okay with committing to them. So if they look at this and they say, Stephanie, I don't know that I would use you if I had an opportunity to work with a for sale by owner. I want to know that up front. I don't want to wait until we get into the process and they're like, oh, well, we found something for sale by owner on our own. Because if they tell me at the consultation, I don't know that I would use you with the for sale by owner because I feel like I could get a better deal, I could probably handle that objection by explaining to them, that most of the time buyers, for sale by owners, are going to pay an agent commission anyway, and I could still negotiate better on their behalf because of the emotional attachment that the seller has when they're doing a for sale by owner. So, if there's an opportunity for us to continue to work together, that's fine. And I would love to represent them in those transactions as well. And usually the buyer is going to want me to help them no matter what. But having this document outlined our responsibilities it puts a little bit of skin in the game. And again, it sets expectation for what the transaction is going to look like. The second part of that document, the buyer loyalty agreement, covers compensation. And I like to just I don't like to glaze over compensation because it's super important. And at the end of the day, it's what all the buyers and all the sellers are always concerned with. Like, how much money is this going to cost me? And you can see here, I have it written out in really big letters. I offer my services as a buyer's agent at no cost as long as we remain exclusive throughout the process. So I'm going to get paid at the closing table if I sell them a property that's listed in the MLS and has a commission agreed upon by the listing broker and the buying broker. There are situations or exemptions to that, which are for sale by owner properties in some cases, that I may have to negotiate a commission with a for sale by owner, or I may have to have my commission protected in some other manner. And those three options are down here at the bottom. Number one is if I can't get the for sale by owner to agree to pay a commission of, and I say plus or minus 3% because I'm going to be real. I'm not going to turn my nose to a 2% commission with a for sale by owner if I think that it's important for my buyers to see that property. But sometimes it equates to the buyer actually having to pay the commission themselves. And I kind of preface that with, listen, guys, if they're not willing to pay the commission, like most sellers will, we just negotiate it in there. Like, it's not going to cost you 3% more to buy this house because you're working with me. We're just going to offer them 3% less, to be honest, right? So that your all in, all net is still about what you plan to spend. Some folks still, and a lot of times it's usually the young buyers and the first time buyers, the people who just don't have, maybe they're not selling something before they buy. So they maybe don't have a whole lot of equity coming to them out of another sale. Or they look a little unsure about that. Like, oh, I don't even know if I can, like, if you're going to be able to negotiate and get me 3% down, I could probably use that discount. And I don't want to have to tack on your fees in addition to it. I still don't want to lose their business. So if those folks can commit to sending me real estate business within the next 12 months that I can close, I would do that deal for them without getting a commission at the closing table. In my 5 years of being a real estate agent, I've never represented somebody that I haven't been paid for. So, but again, it kind of just sets the expectation, right? You keep hearing me say that, the expectation over and over again, because I don't want anybody to be caught off guard once we get to working together. This form that I have in the back of the packet is a new buyer consultation. This is my buyer's wants and needs. So we kind of just go through it. We get their personal information up here. What's the best email? What's the best phone number? Generally, I probably already have this. I want to know, how to send them a thank you card for meeting with me or anything else that I want to put in the mail form, or if I do drop bys for clients, from some kind of marketing and advertising standpoint, it might be, I think right now, probably most real estate agents are putting pumpkins out to their sphere of influence, monthly drop bys or quarterly drop bys. I want to know their birthday and anniversary. Then we start talking about some real stuff, like what's your motivation for buying? Because somebody who's just wanting to buy because the market's good versus somebody whose lease is ending next month or their job is moving on, they're gonna rank a little bit higher in where their motivation is. We break down what their needs are for bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, areas that they might be interested in, who they're going to be working with as a lender. And then I go through this little pyramid here: the house, the price, and the location. I kind of explain based on the section above, where, if you're looking for a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,200 square feet, and you're looking at Mandeville, it's going to be vastly different in price. If you're looking at something in Mandeville, if you're looking at something in Hammond, just because the house and the location are, it's the same house at a different location, the price is going to be impacted. So I refer to this little triangle as like, you could get 2, but probably not 3. Which ones are you picking? What's more important? The condition of the house, the location of the house, the price of the house. I let the clients tell me what they're not flexible with. A client who says, I really need to be a 40-minute commute to the CBD may be told, okay, if the location is super important, then, and I can get you in the price point, what if it has Formica countertops, or it has a 15-year-old roof? Are we going to be okay with moving forward? Because again, maybe we can only get 2 out of 3 of these. And it helps when we start seeing properties and they're like, why is everything you're showing us like not brand new, and it doesn't make me feel super happy, or it's a little bit out of our price point, or it's a little bit further than we said we wanted to see. I can kind of go back to this and say, remember the green triangle on the buyer consultation form? Well, that's where we've gotten, guys. So anything you saw in these documents that you were like, oh, that's kind of cool stuff, I'm glad you brought that up, I'd like to maybe implement that in my consultation.
Yeah.
Well, it's not my consultation, it was somebody else's, and I just ripped it off. So feel free to do the same. Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I'm sorry. The loyalty form that you had in your packet.
Yes.
You have to sign that, and would you still have them to sign the buyer's representation agreement as well?
I do. I have them sign this one because I feel, again, like it's a little bit more, look, I even say down here, it's not a legally binding contract yet. It is acknowledged and agreed upon for a period of 12 months from the dates of signatures unless we mutually agree upon. I tell them that this is a handshake on paper for me, and it's just something that I use for my files. And then I tell them that the LREC's buyer representation agreement is required by our broker and is required by Louisiana Real Estate Commission, and that I get them to sign both because mine's prettier, and they laugh at me and they go, okay. If they're going to sign one, they'll sign both,
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
And if you don't want to have this or something like this in there, it's totally fine. It's not required, but I do like it. I think it has a less intimidating language, and I can explain it better.
I like it.
Thank you. So once we've gotten to this point and we have an A buyer and it's time to get our appointments set, this is the time that you also want to make sure that you go back into command and you update your opportunity in command. You want to, the option that you might want to do is, it's a safe option to schedule the buyer consultation in your office conference room or in the market center. But if you can't schedule it in the office, you could schedule it at a coffee house, or you can do it via Zoom. Just for safety reasons, you want to make sure that you're in a, don't do it in a vacant property. Don't do it in a not vacant property. You should be taking up way too much time to do that there. So let's see. So we're going to move to set the appointment. This is like the old lead generation prospecting funnel. Once you get your, once you get your all your prospects and marketing, kind of move them through the contract funnel. And here we are, we've gotten them to an appointment. So these are people who are like, you've been nurturing them. They were people who stopped by, your chili booth at the chili cook-off and was like, oh, I'd love to buy a house. I don't have an agent. And you're like, fantastic. You sound serious. Let's get together and meet. That's, you have set the appointment. So you've moved them through the funnel. You've cultivated the lead because they were a cold Facebook lead, somebody you haven't met. And now you've nurtured them and they're ready to pull the trigger. And you're able to set the appointment face to face with them. And this is where we're at in that process. So now we have our prepared buyer presentation, which you guys are going to want to work on getting your buyer consultation presentation up to par with all the things in it that are going to separate you. And not saying that you shouldn't, yours shouldn't be, similar to mine, right? But the last thing you want to do is have one that looks exactly like somebody else. Like the duplication of it, there's a possibility that, we might be out looking at the same client one day and they go, this is the exact same document. So put your own flair into it, but make sure you keep the cornerstones for the business and what you stand for and how you want the transaction to look and the relationship to look. Make sure you keep that in your presentation. So most important, invite the client in for the buyer consultation. Go ahead and turn to page 14 of your script book, if you don't mind. And I would like for you guys to, I don't know how y'all have been doing this, and I apologize. This is one of those things that, when I was doing Ignite, the old session, I had been a student in Ignite, so I kind of knew how we were doing scripts and role play. If I turn this section over to you guys a little bit, will you work through your script and role play for page 18, how you've been doing it in the previous Ignite sessions? Can you guys do that together? You guys there?
We're here.
Okay. So have y'all been doing your scripts in the Ignite session, or y'all just holding out and doing them after the session is over? What does that look like?
I've been doing mine after.
Okay. Okay. Well, then I want you to dog ear section 14, and I want you guys to commit to scheduling an appointment for your buyer consultation, like using the script and role play part. So basically what I'm saying is, after class, I don't care if it's with your husband or your neighbor or your best friend, I need you to be like, look, I need to use these scripts so I can set an appointment with you to have a buyer consultation. You understand?
Yeah.
All right. Moving along in here. I feel like that's the same thing. Let's keep going. So here in Command, has anybody had their buyer consultation made and designed in Command?
Not yet.
Okay, so the designs in Command, they have the designs tab in Command has 2 templates for the presentation. Clearly they're going to be fully customizable to match the value proposition and the buyers that you're meeting with. The buyer presentation is a tool guide for the conversation and provides the clients with some kind of tangible value that demonstrates the expertise that you have as a real estate agent. I will be a little honest with you. I think the design template for the buyer consultation in Command is a little long. I have mine. I would pull it up and show you, and I'd be happy to send it to you. But I'm going to be honest. I don't think that I even fully completed it. I felt like it was so long and so overdrawn. And just some of the things that we talk about, I tried to make the buyer consultation packet like all the high points. And I will sometimes even say when we get to the appraisal, some things can happen. What if the house doesn't appraise? What if it appraises for less than the contract value? And the people are like, yeah, what happens? And I'm like, look, this is the reality. I can tell you every little thing that can happen. Like, what happens if the seller doesn't want to change, like fix anything in inspections? But we're not there yet. Like, I want to tell you that we're going to have inspections and we're going to have appraisal, and some things can go wonky, and you're going to be so glad that you have a real estate agent when those things happen, because I'm going to have some options for you then. But we don't really know what the future is going to hold in this contract. So I'm asking you to just know that things can happen and things are going to come up, and I'm going to be here to help guide you through them. But if I gave them every little single detail about the transaction, they would be so confused and overwhelmed by the time we ended the appointment. They probably wouldn't want to work with me. And I feel like it puts a lot of stress on like all the little negative details that can happen. So I don't like the consultation packet to be too much, because I just feel like it becomes too much. Okay. During this module, we're going to discuss the purpose of each of the sections of the buyer presentation. That's in Command, but we're not going to go over all the individual pages or how to edit them in Designs. I just think that after this afternoon or tomorrow, over the weekend, that you guys should review the how-to articles on the Designs at answers.kw.com, and then just practice customizing your own buyer presentation, or just rip off and duplicate mine, and then go back into the Designs and take what you need out of there and add it to yours. I would love it if after you guys are done with your buyer consultation packet, if you sent it back to me so I could like just look at it and be proud and in awe of you. So I'm going to ask that if you're willing to share that with me, that you do.
I'm going to be honest, I plan to steal yours.
Well, don't limit yourself to just what I have in mind, please. Go out there, look at other consultation packets, look at what is on KW Command, and really add to it or change it, because I've changed mine multiple times. But Coach Anthony mentioned something when I did this consultation. I just did the consultation outside of the Ignite classroom earlier this year. And he said one of the things that he felt so proud to see was that my consultation package actually says that it's for 2020 on it. And he was like, you don't know how important that is, because when people look at the packet, they feel like, okay, well, she's updated, right? Like it says 2020 home buying guide.
Yeah.
So in a couple of months, I'm going to change it to the 2021 home buying guide, and and just make it look fresh and updated. So that was kind of my goal of that.
I've looked at the one on Command, and you're right, it is very lengthy, and I just don't think people want to read all of that stuff.
Well, I don't want you to get in the habit of having a limited belief that people don't want or don't need something, because that's kind of a rabbit hole we can go down sometimes, of being like, I don't think people want to hear about that, or I don't think they need all this information. It's better to just ask them, like, hey, are you comfortable with the information that I've given you, or do you feel like you need more information? Like I would rather ask and feel like I can control the information that I'm presenting, than just assume and then walk away and be like, oh, clearly they've gotten it, and they really are still kind of scratching their heads. But it's long-winded, and it's hard for me to sit there and go through all of that and not just feel like I'm feeding them through a fire hose. You know what I mean?
Right.
There are additional resources to help with Command and designs that are specific to our Keller Williams Market Center 94. So if you have issues with Command or with designs and you need more information, I don't know who's interim Mindy, since she's out taking care of that beautiful baby of hers, but reach out to Diana or any of the staff and of our office, or your coaching team, and they will get you in touch with somebody who can help you with navigating commands and designs, especially if you're a little behind the curve on what's going on in Command. Okay. So this is the beginning of the buyer consultation packet that you will see in Command. And it is a beautiful packet, y'all. If you haven't looked at it, I want you to check it out. All of this is customizable. Like, you can change the color, the fonts. It's really a fancy consultation packet. It's going to help you to connect with the buyer and build confidence in your value proposition. And you can make changes to that presentation that include adding or deleting, or just reordering the sections of it, moving things around. What resources do you have that are going to help you in your buyer presentation? What are some things that you can put in your consultation that are going to help you to prepare that presentation? Any ideas to make it customizable?
Can you put your do's and don'ts, like for the buyer, like don't go buy a new car and stuff like that?
Yes, you can do that. You can, that's a good idea. You can put MLS data in it. So maybe like the real market report can be added to it. The buyer lead sheet that I had, the needs analysis sheet is something that can be added to the presentation. Does anybody have anything else that they might thought they could add to it? No? Okay. Well, maybe write that down as a note of like, brainstorming some things that you can add to your buyer presentation packet. As we go over the sections, we'll discuss the resources that you're going to need to customize your presentation for the buyer. And just remember to make sure that you change your table of contents on the content page if you add or remove or you reorder anything. So like if you take out, your preferences or whatever, make sure you update it so that it looks consistent. I think that was one thing too about the packet. I was like, oh, it's just so much to have to go back. Like I would have needed somebody to edit it for me. Your participation guide contains an example page from the buyer presentation, the modern template. You can view and edit that and complete the buyer presentation using the modern or traditional template in the designs tab. So that's the two that you're going to see when you go into designs. The modern template or the more traditional one, you just pick whichever one feels like it represents your brand. We're going to be looking at one page from each section in the table of contents, except for the glossary, because that's just the terms and stuff. So we don't really need to look at that part. So page 1 of your consultation is their dream home. The first section of the presentation sets a tone for your relationship with the buyer, and it opens up by asking the buyers to explain their dream home during the buyer's experience. My consultation has that a little bit further to the back. The beginning of my consultation has, what the process of buying a home looks like. If we're lucky, we can maybe get the market center to allow us to do my personal buyer consultation as an additional training. If we're not lucky, we can just meet someplace else outside of the market center. If you guys want to actually go through my buyer consultation and let me role play it with you, we could do it at a coffee house or whatever and do a one-on-one with like a live studio audience. And I'll show you how the order of my personal consultation is a little bit different from this one. But ultimately, I just kind of start with the hey, let's get the important stuff out of the way. Let me tell you about my schedule. Let me tell you about how you can communicate with me. Let me ask you how you like to be communicated with. Let me tell you what's the first step in buying a home, like better be pre-approved. Let me tell you when you actually get to key to your house at the act of sale. And then we kind of move from that into, so let's talk about the home. You've already sent me some properties. Most of my clients by this point have screenshotted something they saw on the Z Word or something they saw on realtor.com, right? Normally by now they've either clicked on something that I've had on my Facebook page, or they've seen it someplace else on social media or on the internet, and I already have a little bit of an idea of what they're looking for. But if you look at their dream home section, they start asking some real dope questions about like what's important to the homeowner. Like where do you and make sure you check it too, because they might have something stupid written in there, like, do you want a mountain view? Well, they're not going to get that here. So make sure you edit your packet so that it says all of the things that are important to us. Like, no, you do not need a house with a basement. We live in Southeast Louisiana. And if you leave it in there, they're going to know that you copied a template from somebody. So definitely, even if you use another buyer agent template from outside of this region, just check it for stuff like that. So if you decide that you want to reorganize the buyer packet to like the order of the table of contents, and you want to put their dream home in the back, you can do that. Just got to go back to the table of contents and change it, right? Turn to page 6 of your participation guide and review the page from the buyer presentation. I don't have your participation guide open up, so can somebody take the lead on that and kind of tell me what's on that page?
I have it open. I'm sorry. What page did you say?
It's page 6 of your participation guide.
Okay. It's got the same thing that you have right here with the mom and daughter hugging.
Mm-hmm.
So it just has that. It says the example buyer presentation, your dream home.
Okay. So when looking at your dream home, is there anything in here that you would change on this page to maybe help your clients get to know you better or understand the value and their motivation, your value and their motivation? Anything that you would change at all? It could, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, first thing I'm changing is I'm gonna see if I can open mine up real fast. That's not a bad idea, right? Hello, go open up yours, Stephanie. Let's see what it looks like. Anthony's gonna look at our video and he's gonna be like, "What are you doing in this in this night session?"
Mhm.
Okay, I have played with mine. I hope I didn't delete it. I think it's still in here. Here we go. Buyer's packet.
I'm sorry. I thought you said the workbook. Looking at the
What's
wrong
that?
thing. I thought you said the workbook. I'm looking at the wrong thing.
Okay, so when you looked at your participation guide, was there something else in section on page 6 that was a discussion point?
In the workbook, not on page 6, it's that ad. But on page 7, it says, what are the goals for this page in the buyer presentation?
Got it. Okay. I can download this somehow. Let me do that real fast.
And then it says, how would you customize this page? What questions would you change?
Okay. Well, I'm going to show you how we should customize it because I'm going to let you look at mine if it downloads. Okay, here we go. Where'd it go? Okay, let me see what I'm going to do to make this work for you guys. Let's see if I can split this screen. Okay, what I'm trying to do is get a side by side. Can y'all still see everything okay? I hope nobody's on their phone. Okay. This is the beginning of the buyer guide that they have set up in Command. This is the beginning of the buyer guide that Stephanie Grass has made as her personal guide to home ownership. So everything from changing buyer presentation, key components, to your guide to home ownership, everything you need to know about, this is my tagline, unlocking the door to your new home. So I've added that in there as well as you know, my photo or whatever. I'm wondering, why can't I go forward with this? It's like download one picture at a time. That would stink. Y'all, I am not. Okay, different idea. Let's do this. Just pull that out. I thought I'd be able to download it and it's just not cooperating like I want it to. So, so that's page 1. Page 2 is going to be the buyer. This was prepared for this client with all my personal information on it. Actually, that's page 3. Page 2 is the buyer consult, and it identifies all of the it identifies what we're going to go over in the process of the buyer consultation. What my promise is, the objectives for our meeting, which I always outline. And it's kind of weird because the KW buyer consultation, this one over here that you see in our Ignite session, does not talk about the 4 objectives. And I'm going to tell you what the 4 objectives are, and I'm going to tell you where I got this from. So I'm switching back to my guide. If anybody in Ignite has already experienced Bold, and I know that Bold has been weird right now because again they've launched Bold 2.0, and then we've had it. It's been all weird, and there's a million people on it because it's not being conducted in the region anymore because of COVID. But if you're familiar with Bold, or you took Bold pre-COVID, you know that in the listing presentation that Diana Kokoska uses for Bold, she talks about the 4 objectives. Reviewing for selling a house. When you go to a listing appointment, review your motivation to sell your home. Make a decision, talk to you about the market, answer your questions about the market, and make a decision if you're going to list with her today. That's her 4 objectives for the listing appointment. I start my buyer consultation the same way with 4 objectives, and I write them out so that I can begin with and end with saying, so we did these things. We're going to do them, and now I summarize. We did them. Number 1, thank you, Mr. Buyer, for coming and meet me in my office today so we can discuss your motivation to purchase a new home and talk about your wants and needs in that future home. We're gonna review that and ensure that you understand the home buying process in the next 45 minutes. I'm gonna answer any of the questions that you have about the home buying process or about working with me. So if you have any questions about my experience or how we handle this or whatever, that's the time to ask. I'm going to make a decision. After that, I'm going to make a decision if we can work together, partnering to help you purchase your new home. So, they have a decision to work with me. I have a decision to work with them. I start the meeting off with that. So on the other buyer consultation packet that came from Keller Williams, I've added it to that. And again, I just thought it was kind of odd that I'm sure Diana's son, Sean, in his buyer consultation, I think he had the 4 objectives for their meeting. And I just don't know how it got left out of the table of contents in the new packet, but I added it back in. You may not feel the necessity to have it in there, but I actually like it. Then we have the buying process, which is kind of the flow chart. We have the financial success blueprint, and then we have some items in here, about my service, and then my client testimonial. So that's kind of what my packet looks like, and it's overall it's pretty long. It's 27 pages long, the one that's in command, versus mine that's like 8 pages long, okay? Which is why I decided to consolidate it and put it all into a smaller packet. So I'm just gonna move back on over to this one so you guys can kind of see what's going on in the Ignite script. So so one of the things I'm changing in mine, as you already saw, I changed the photographs and stuff. I tried to find things that were not copyrighted, but were more related to New Orleans and the North Shore, just to make it feel less generic and feel a little bit more like it was appropriate for our region. So like this lady and her little girl, they're cute and everything, but I don't use the stock photos unless I absolutely need to, because I can't find anything else that's more appropriate. On the next page, it's build your preference profile. So go to page 8 of your participant guide and let's review those questions that are on page 8. I'm going to open up page 8 if I can get up there and do that. Let's see, participation guide. I have so much stuff open now that my computer is giving me a little bit of a lag. Okay. Throw that over here. Okay. On page 8 of your participation guide, this is the example buyer presentation, the build your preference profile. So let's see. On this page, is there anything that you guys look at and you're like, I would change that? Are y'all on page 8? Hello? I'm going to tell you right now, I'm looking at your participation guide. I already know what I'm changing. I'm going to change some of this stuff on the right-hand side over here. Morning, noon, night, afternoon. I mean, if you want to be reaching out to your clients at nighttime or whatever, I guess you can leave it. But I've already set the expectation for my clients of when we're going to communicate, unless we're in the middle of negotiations. And I need to call them at like 2 o'clock in the morning, which is never going to happen because nothing can be done at 2 o'clock in the morning that can't be done at 7 o'clock in the morning if I've been preparing myself and my clients. But there are things that you might want to change on this page. Nothing.
I would take off anytime for sure.
Yeah. And your clients may be like, I work in the morning, so whatever. But I mean, I guess this is really, maybe I'm incorrect. Maybe I'm looking at this in the wrong way. Maybe we need to be talking about if the clients are okay with us contacting them in the morning, noon, night, or evening. I just want to be clear with my clients. If I don't want to contact them at 9 o'clock at night, because I don't want them to contact me at 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
So, and I kind of feel like if I tell them, like, I'm going to reach out to you at 10 p.m., then I feel like I'm opening up the like floodgates of, then you can respond back to me. And then you answer them one time and then you are on the hook for that. Unless you're going to be able to say like, look, I apologize. I don't normally message you at this time of night, but blah, 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 blah. So either way, I would take that off of my packet if I were going to use this build your preference for profile, but it's totally up to you guys. One of the things in my facilitator guide, it's asking, so, what's the objective of the questions on this page? Well, number one, oops, I clicked on the wrong thing. Number one, it's to discern how we're contacting our clients. Like, it's building it's giving them the resources that they want in the manner that they want. Like, for instance, they don't want to be emailed listings. They want to be texted listings. They don't want to be texted when you're trying to set up an appointment. They want you to call them. They don't want you to call them in the morning, but they don't want you to text them in the evening. So all that stuff, so that you can like know how to communicate, not one size fits all, but more the personal way that they would like to be communicated with. So after you have all this information, like, what do you do with it? How are you going to track it across multiple buyer consultation appointments? How do you know, like, I'm going to talk to Susie in the morning, but I'm going to text Jack in the afternoon? What are you going to use to keep make sure that all your clients, that you're not just sending out blast text messages and emails, and it's like suddenly you don't even get text messages. No plan for how you're going to communicate, how you're going to follow up and communicate with them in the method that your clients are asking that you prefer to communicate. They prefer to communicate. Okay. Well, for me, I'm going to add notes into command in my command database. And I'm also going to use the reminders tab in my command database for times that I need to touch base with those clients. So if my client is like they're an EMS worker and they work the night shift, so they're sleeping during the day, and my general, let's say I lead gen from 8 o'clock to 9:30, and then from 9:30 to 10, I follow up with yesterday's buyers, and I know I shouldn't text, Joe, because he is an EMT and he works the night shift, and he would be furious if I texted him at 9:30. I'm not going to set a reminder in my command to call Joe at 9:30 in the morning. I'm going to set that reminder to call him at 4:30, right?
Right.
Okay. Do you see why this is important, that you should be having these conversations with your clients, and why once you have the conversation, it's even more important that you follow through with what you've agreed to do. Like, it doesn't do you guys any good to sit down and go through the consultation and then go off script and like all willy-nilly and just start doing things however you want to do it. Like, the basis of the buyer consultation is to set that foundation so that the client knows what to expect, and then you deliver on that promise. I feel like I'm losing you guys. Are y'all, are we okay? Is everybody okay out there?
Yeah.
Let's stop for a minute and let's just take a little health check. Are we bored with the buyer presentation, or do we feel like we just haven't gotten to a point where we're meeting clients and we know what we're using it for? Where are we at, and what do we need to do if we need to redirect this class a little bit?
I think it's going great. I'm taking notes.
Okay. And I apologize. Normally I'm looking at you guys face to face, and I can be like, everybody's about to fall asleep, or they're like really excited and they're shaking their head. And I don't have that, and that's unfortunate. But if we need to, do we need to go back on anything?
I'm fine. I don't have a buyer representation guide, so I'm just kind of taking notes.
Oh, okay. And I don't know how to get that.
I'm like brand new. I just signed on last week, so maybe that's why I don't have it. I don't.
Okay, no worries. Well, then a lot of what we're saying, and that's fine, and that makes me feel a little bit better, because you haven't, do you have any clients that you're working with yet?
No.
Okay, so yeah, so you're like, buyer agency agreement. What? Like, what are we talking about? Everything sounds Greek, and you're probably like, this is a big waste of 2 hours. But I promise you it won't be, because at some point here in the next few weeks, you're going to be like, okay, that makes a little bit of sense. And I ask that if you need us, you come back and review this video clearly. But if you need more, oh my God, my grass guy's pulling up, y'all. That's going to be awful here in a minute. Technology. If we need to set some time up separate too, outside of this, and kind of go through, I really think if you're a new agent and you want to see a buyer consultation in the works, we should set up an appointment, and you should let me do a buyer consultation with you. And then you'll see it from the consumer side, and I will dazzle you with all of this information. And I think it'll make a whole lot more sense. So if that's something that you need while you're getting your feet underneath you, go ahead and shoot me an email, and I will get you on my schedule when it's convenient for you. I think that would be fun too. So.
Okay. And where does everybody getting their guides from?
So the guides that we're looking at right now, this one that is on my screen, that we're working with, is actually, if you go into KW, there it is. Yep, that's what happens when the grass guy comes. Sorry. And it's going to be like that for a minute, because she hates him. And I'm like, but you don't understand. He cuts the grass. I don't have to do it when he's here.
I have 3 dogs, so I understand.
She is the sweetest girl too. And she will literally like try to go through the wall. She's going to do it until he leaves, because he's going to come with the blower in a minute. I am so sorry. Anthony, I'm so sorry. Stevie, come here. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me see if I can get her in the room with me. Hey, Stevie.
Oh.
Come on. Go lay down. Come on.
Okay, now mine's doing it.
Now my dog barked and everybody's dog barked. Okay. Oh, they said it would be fun. Okay. This guide is available on your KW command. If you go to your KW command console on the left-hand side, you'll see a bunch of little thumbnails. And in the thumbnails, there'll be one for designs. And once you click on designs, there'll be options for setting up new templates. And one of the templates in there is your buyer consultation packet.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. If you need more information on that, or you get into command and you're stumbling and you're like, I don't know, you can reach out to leadership in the market center and the staff of the market center, and they may be able to help you, or just call or message me and I'll walk you through it. It's like I did it one time and I don't really have to see it ever again, but it's in there and I know how to get to it. You just call.
Okay.
All right, fantastic. All right, so building your buyer's preference profile would be the next section. And then your wish list for your home, which same thing, guys, it's got a lot of information about where, what, like, it gets your clients kind of thinking about about their next home. So oops, sorry, I'm scrolling too fast. Your home wish list is going to be a real good place. If you look on your elements page, I think it's page 11. And if you don't have elements, no big deal. It's basically just a big blank page where you could write a million things, like brain dump what your clients really want. You'll see on the home wish list, it says who's going to be living in the home. Let's list the adults, the children, the pets that are going to be in there. The reason why you're asking all those questions, and I actually say it in the consultation when I sit down with the client, when we get to this part, which is in the end for me, remember, I say, look, I'm about to ask you 500 questions about the home that you want to live in. And it's going to feel like, why are you asking me so many questions? Well, buyer, the reason why is because if I can ask you 500 questions, I can eliminate a lot of the properties that aren't going to be suitable for you, versus and then I might be able to show you 5 of the best houses on the MLS. And right now, agents, it's important because things are moving off the MLS so quickly. You don't have time to show them the wrong property. You need to see the right one and be like, this is going to work for them. Let's go look at it. So asking them 500 questions and showing them 5 properties is more sensible than only asking them 5 questions and then end up having to show them 500 properties. They don't want to see everything. They want to see the stuff that they're going to like. So when I start asking them, like, okay, who's going to be living with you? And they say, well, it's going to be me and it's going to be my husband and our 3 kids. Okay. And then my mom comes every other weekend. Well, so tell me a little bit more about that. Well, my mom comes every other weekend because my husband works offshore. And so she comes on every other weekend to help me get the house ready, like, with the kids for school and stuff, like all those things, these questions that are like, I'm digging deep and I'm going, a mile deep and an inch wide with this one client, is because I want to find out, do they really need that many bathrooms, or do they really need that many bedrooms? Or when they say they want bedrooms, they really need an office. When they say they want a large yard, well, what's a large yard? If you came from the CBD and you were living with a rooftop, you had to park across the street in a parking garage. A yard that we have here in St. Tammany is going to feel like a farm. But if they came from Colorado and they lived on 70 acres, and they had a ranch, this isn't going to be nearly sufficient. So asking them questions that are a little bit less vague is going to help me be able to really start to kind of break down what they're really asking for. Because they think they're giving you information that's clear, and sometimes they're just really not. It's clear in their head, but it's not clear to me. Then I'll ask them, what are the things that they're willing to negotiate on the home? Like, okay, so we want a house that has an updated kitchen, but so what's an updated kitchen, right? Well, it has stainless steel appliances. Okay, fantastic. Well, what if it has stainless steel appliances, but it doesn't have granite countertops, or it ends up having granite countertops and are just ugly anyway? Are you willing to negotiate those things in the home? Like, basically, not are you willing to negotiate them with the seller, but are you willing to Stevie lay down? Are you willing to negotiate them in your decision to make an offer and move into this house? Like maybe they're going to be okay with it if it's not stainless steel, but it's brand new, or it's not granite, but it looks good, or it's not granite, but it's not a lot of it, and they can replace it once they get in because the house is priced so well. So those questions that are on this on my screen that I'm sharing with you are meant for you to be able to have your clients just kind of like just write on this. I've also seen agents who send this your home wish list to their clients before they meet and ask them to just kind of do some homework. But I do personally think that as they're talking and I can ask more questions about why they're asking for those things, that I can get a little bit more clear. Like if they say, well, we really want something that has 4 bedrooms and an office, and I'm like, do you need 4 bedrooms in an office, or do you need 4 bedrooms in another space? Like what's the office for? Can it be, is it like, maybe it's a dining room that you're not going to use. It's not really an office. And they'll go, yeah, like I could do that. So I want to ask the questions. And if they just put that on the paper and I just go in the MLS and start setting criteria, I might actually lose out on the right property for them. The next part is going to be your neighborhood insights. So you can go into command, and you can go into your buyer packet and you can drop insights for the listings. This is really a cool tool, and it works really well to kind of like amplify how tech savvy and how cutting edge Keller Williams technology is. I have had a little bit of a problem with using it in my presentation, just because I'm a little bit old school, even though I'm only 5 years in the business, just because we didn't have that before. And I feel like it's hard for me to pull all of the areas that my clients, like if I could do all of West St. Tammany, all of St. Tammany in general, and not just the way it's laid out in nextdoor.com in those interesting little neighborhoods, I think I'd be able to use it a little bit better. But what I find is that a person might be looking at something in on the north side of I-12, like I'll use my neighborhood for example, if you're familiar with it, Normandy Oaks, but they might also be willing to look in Vitaco. And when I start breaking them down, that have so many neighborhood insights that it just starts to get a little bit messy. So I don't use neighborhood insights in my listing presentation, but I do set them up on that. They get that email at a command. So it's one of their marketing emails that come through like a drip campaign. Does that make some sense to you guys?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. And I think, and I think too, that just being able to, being able to show them this here is probably nice. Like, hey, this is kind of what it's going to look like. But I just set it up and tell them, hey, like, go play with this. It's kind of like having Google, it's like Amazon. Once you start playing with it, it's going to like find cool properties for you, whatever. I don't know. A lot of folks are still using realtor.com and the insights and stuff that they have. I'm not necessarily opposed to them using those sites. Wherever they feel comfortable getting their information from, as long as they are committed to returning back to me and asking me what I think. And I solidify that in the presentation anyway. Like, just do whatever is comfortable for you. If you want to drive around town and look at houses and text the QC code, I'm fine with that. Just know that when somebody calls you and they're asking you like, hey, are you ready to look at this house, that you have an agent that you're ready to work with, and that you'll have your agent get in touch with them. So how they get the information has little impact on me. This section is how home buying works. I'm gonna go right back to where I was on my form. My buyer consultation, because y'all have the same thing, but look how long theirs is. Well, actually, they only show you the first page here. I bet you in your notes there. I know it. I know, girl. Hey, they're making the yard look pretty. Leave them alone. In the home and how home buying works, there are so many little like it's a flow chart, right? And there's so many little spots in there that I felt like it was just too much information for me to get through in a timely manner with the consult. So I changed my flow chart in my presentation to look like this. No, it does the same thing. Y'all take a minute and look at that one. Oh, just as far down there. Okay. So what this does is it gives you a chance to explain the process of buying and what the buyer needs in order to be considered ready, willing, and able. One of the things is you want to explain to the buyer, a buyer needs to know and what's expected to be confident in the process. Otherwise, you're going to have a super anxious buyer, and that buyer is going to have a whole lot of objections that they're going to bring to you through that at the process. The other thing is you might need to explain the difference between some things that are going on in this section. This is like where all of the real anxiety starts for the buyers. They don't know what they're looking for. Like, in other words, they don't know what inspections mean. They don't know that that's a great time to go drive through the neighborhood when it's raining to see if the house is going to flood. And they don't know if it means what it means if their inspections come back and it says that there, a couple of windows need to be replaced. Like, does that mean I got to back out of the deal? So this is a chance for you to clarify all of that. And it's also an opportunity for you to clarify things that generally your clients don't understand, like the difference between pre-qualified and pre-approved, right? Or what financing charges look like for the loan and closing costs. So this is where you get to like really show them like that. Hold on a second, y'all. Okay, y'all still there?
Uh-huh.
He came with a blower and she lost it. Okay. So this is a chance for you guys to kind of show them like the terminology and what it means and kind of just break down everything a little bit more specifically. But I'm just looking at like the partner with an agent, absorb their local insight, get to know, this is what you're saying, like, oh, the reason why it's important to have a real estate agent is because you get to absorb their local knowledge. You get to know neighborhood inventory levels. You get to see what's about to hit the market, gain access to off-market properties, review market averages, and complete a needs assessment. That's wordy for me, in my opinion. Or get pre-approved for a loan, understand what you can afford, determine your monthly mortgage payment, understand your debt ratio, prepare for escrow, obtain pre-approval. Well, guess what? Now you got to go back and you got to, what does prepare for escrow mean? How do I determine, like, all of those little sections could be even more broken down if you got that far into like this consultation. So I kind of take the 30,000 foot view, like if you're flying over it from an airplane and all you see are like the real big squares and maybe every once in a while a swimming pool. I like to take it from that view and say, like, this is what we're doing. You're going to select an agent, somebody that you're committed to working with. You're not going to call names off of a sign. I'm going to hold your hand and guide you through the process. I'm going to show you properties that are on the market. I'm going to show you properties that aren't on the market that I think might be something you would consider if inventory is low and I know that something's coming up. I'm telling them all of that, but I'm not putting all of that in this pamphlet and making it so overwhelming. Okay. So basically the generalities of the steps to buying a home here and what they have in the buyer packet on command are pretty much the same. So take out what you don't want or add what you think you need. The next page is going to be more about Keller Mortgage. So this is Keller Mortgage and the affiliate business arrangement disclosure, which basically just means that if you're offering a client to use Keller Mortgage, it's affiliated with Keller Williams. And so there is some benefit to our clients using that, but also we have interest in that company and we need to disclose that. So, you want to make sure that this affiliate business arrangement disclosure is included in your packet, but Keller Mortgage is legit. It's a good place for our clients to secure funding for purchasing a property. They have those 0+ loans that are helping clients to save tremendous amount of money on closing costs. It's exclusive to Keller Williams clients or clients of involved in a transaction that are Keller Williams related. So even if it's your listing and a buyer comes and they are not represented by a Keller Williams agent, but you can help them to get financed in order to be pre-approved for that property, then Keller Williams can work with that client as well. Also, they're loaning in all the states except for New York currently. So, 49 of the 50 states you can send a business to. It's really a legit thing. So I know that we have local lenders here and stuff that we get a lot of support from in our market center specifically. But bottom line is there's a really good opportunity to get buyers in homes that they wouldn't be able to afford, or even be ready to purchase a home that they might not be ready to start that process because they just don't have enough money available in reserves to get going, just by using Keller Mortgage instead of one of the traditional lenders that we have close to home. The next part is going to be your value proposition. This is probably one of the most important parts of your consultation, because if they're talking to multiple Keller Williams agents or multiple agents in general, the chances that everything else that they've seen already, like they already know they can use Keller Mortgage, they already can get insights. Why do they want to use you, powered by Keller Williams? Well, your value and your value real experience is like your resume for your buyers. I know I got folks in here that's like, I don't have any years in real estate business. I have not served any clients or repeat clients, or I don't have stats. Like, what can I do? Well, guess what? You can just straight delete that if you don't want to use it, or you can use market center statistics and just be, don't pass them off as your own. Just be like, this is why it's important to work with our brokerage. We have this many listings on the market, these many sold listings. Like, these numbers can be anything. So it doesn't have to be years in business. It could be, it could be whatever you want it to say. As a matter of fact, what are some things that you guys would like to see on this page, especially to my new agents who don't have any, haven't wrote a contract yet? What would you like that real value experience page to say?
This is the page that I was kind of feeling like people just don't take time to read.
You think that people will probably glaze over that?
I think so. I could be wrong.
I think that it's important for them to know who you are and what makes you a professional and an expert. And I will use that term, and I'm an expert in this business, because everybody knows something about real estate, and that's great. But do you have expert level knowledge? I could talk to my sister, and my sister is smart and she knows about real estate, but she should not consider herself an expert. So I start to throw out some words like that are really strong salesy words. And I feel like it kind of like reins them in, like, yeah, you know what, you're probably right. Like, I do know some things, I'm not really an expert. And this is just a place to kind of validate my experience and put it back into writing, regardless if they're going to use it or not. It's kind of hard when it looks so like it's really bold to see, like, okay, 15 years in business, that's kind of a big thing, or 268 families served. And I probably, that's something that I would change. I wouldn't say total clients, I'd say families served. I feel like it's a little bit more personable. And that's what people care about people. So they don't want to be looked at as just numbers, like a client versus families. It just seems more impactful to me. So those are some things that I would change. And if you don't feel comfortable with that, or you just don't want to brag on yourself that way, then just take that section out. No big deal. You can go on without it. You can share different credentials from in your buyer presentation as well. Some things might be, she's sharing, what is she sharing in hers? she's saying things like where she went to high school, not high school. That's only a Louisiana thing. That's the only place people care about what high school you went to. She's mentioning that she has a bachelor's in history at the University of Springfield. I would say if you're an ALC member of the Market Center, or if you're a member of the National Association of Realtors or our local board, which board you're on, if you're a committee member, if you have any certifications through like a relocation certification, or if you're a military relocation professional, any of those kinds of designations or certifications that'd be a good place to put those kinds of credentials, just again because they'll set you apart from competition. And it's kind of fun. I mean, if you went through the extra training, it's worth it to kind of brag about it. I'm sorry, I'm kind of just looking through some of the things to get make sure I don't leave anything out on the facilitators package. So the next thing is well, they have a section in your facilitators package about your app. And I'm going to be real. I have not ever, I've been 5 years in the business. I've never been able to use my app. I've gone through the app module multiple times. And so I can't guide you on your Keller Williams app. And maybe I need to sit my butt in a training class myself and see if there's something wrong. But basically what happens in my app is I get it going and then it shuts down. And as soon as I send it out to people, they send me back and they go, it won't let me open it. And then we end up deleting it and refreshing it. And so I just stopped using it. So that whole section on your KW app, I unfortunately, I just need to glaze over and skip, guys, because I can't make it work for me personally. The next thing is going to be conduct your in the conduction of your buyer consultation. So prior to meeting with a buyer, you want to print off a color copy of your customized buyer presentation to give to the buyer. You should have a system for taking notes for the buyer's answers to the questions in your buyer presentation. So maybe it's 2 copies, maybe you have a copy for them and a copy for yourself, but you're going to want to leave them with their packet because it's where all your contact information is. It's where information about the buyer process is, or maybe some of these sheets you just rip off the back and you keep them with you, and then you scan them and email them to them later, whatever works for you, just whatever that system is, try to be consistent with it. And that's really it. So next thing, we're just going to move on for some scripts for welcoming the buyer to the buyer consultation and then closing the appointment with a signed buyer agreement. So page 14 in Elements. Let's see if I can find that. I don't have the Elements script book is the problem. Okay, so let me just go with what I know. You're gonna, in order to set this presentation up, you're gonna need to convince your client by an invitation that it's important for them to come to your office, right? And meet with you face to face and go through this consultation. And generally what will happen is I will place a phone call, or they will place a phone call. So either incoming or outgoing phone call that says, hey, or a text message, right? But if I get a text message, I'm typically going to say, is it okay if I reach out to you and just ask you a couple of questions? And when would be a good time for us to talk? And then they'll tell me, and then we'll set that up. And they'll generally start with, like, so we're not really sure if we're ready yet, but we kind of were looking. We thought we wanted to see this house. Do you think, what do you think this is? How long do you think this is going to be on the market? And what do you think about the neighborhood? And what do you think we could get it for? And they're asking questions that are pretty usually specific to a certain property that they saw. And I am okay with answering those questions. Sometimes it's even sign calls, y'all. Like if you have a listing and you put your sign out in the front and it's like, it's for this house or whatever, the phone rings and there's that buyer on the other line saying, hey, just drove through the neighborhood, or they'll just say, hey, I was calling you about, 1522 West Causeway approach. And that's how the conversation starts. And typically what they want is for you to just say, oh yeah, 1522 West Causeway approach. It's listed for $200,000. It's a 16 bedroom, 5 bathroom house. It's beautiful. Do you want to see it? Like, that's really what they want you to say. That's not at all what you should say, because they're going to say, yeah, when can we meet there? And then you're going to open up the building for them. They're going to take a look at it, and they're going to be like, all right, well, thank you. And then they're going to go down the street. They're going to call another house with a sign on it. And that's just Pop-Tart agent. That's being a Pop-Tart agent. Nobody wants to do that. So what I prefer to do, or what I think is the better method, is you get that phone call. They're calling off of your sign. They're like, hey, just saw this property at 1522 West Causeway approach. Can you tell me a little bit about it? And I say, oh, wonderful. Yeah, so glad that you called. Let me ask you a question. Number one, where did you see the property? Were you driving by it, or did you see it on the internet? And I ask that question because as soon as those two things happen, something's going to change. Like it takes me to the next step, right? Number one, if they're sitting at home and they saw it on the internet, they may already be working with an agent. They may have an agent's website, or they may be in the MLS. Who really knows what they're doing? But if they're looking on the internet, they're also probably able to see photographs of the property. And now they might even be seeing 3D virtual tours. So their interest is already peaked, and they already know how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, what the price is, because all of that's available on the internet. So I don't want to reiterate information that they've already seen. So if they go, yeah, I saw it on the internet, I'm going to say, fantastic. So clearly you've probably already saw the price. You may have already seen pictures and whatever. So what other information are you looking for that I could answer? On the flip side, if they're just driving around and they just saw something, it's curb appeal, like they like it, maybe they haven't saw pictures and maybe they haven't seen a price. So those are going to be pieces of information that are important, right? So you see right off the bat, like two totally different conversations. Then of course, if that buyer is driving, or at this point, I might not even know that they're a buyer. They're driving past it, and I might say, oh, okay, wonderful. So you drove past it. Are you looking to purchase in that neighborhood? Are you a person who already lives there and maybe considering selling your own home, and you're just curious as to what properties in your neighborhood are going for? And then there's going to be a whole nother conversation. Oh, no, we're actually looking to move. Okay, well, Stephanie, these seem like some serious people. They're out and about, actually driving around, burning gas, looking at houses. I mean, that's a pretty big step, right? So all of this for me is just like, I'm just putting like pieces of a puzzle together to decide, like, are they serious people? Are they buyers? How far along are they in the process? What do they know about the market? Like, it's just all opportunity for me to ask questions. So at some point we're going to talk about the house. I'm going to give them, let me get a phone number for you. I can shoot you a link right now to that property so you can see some pictures. This is what it's listed at. Are you currently working with a real estate agent, and are you pre-approved? Do you know how much you can afford in your home search? And if they do have a pre-approval, but they aren't working with an agent, at this very point, I'm going to say it seems like you're pretty motivated. Why don't we set up something so that we can see this property sooner than later, because the market's moving fast? And they're going to be like, yeah, so are you available, today or tomorrow? Or I'll ask them if they're available today, tomorrow. And if they can agree to meet to see the property, I will at that point invite them by saying, look, I absolutely would love to show you the property. Would you be opposed to coming into my office or meeting at the coffee house or whatever that looks like about 45 minutes early, so that we can go over a needs and wants analysis, and I can show you a little bit about buying real estate in our market right now. And so like teach you about buying real estate and show you a little bit about how I work. And then we can go out and see that property. And that's my script for getting somebody to agree to meet with me in the office, because at the end of the presentation, they get to go see the property. Does all of that make sense? How I assess if they're like ready, willing, and able, and how I know if they're ready to come into the office and get set up on a consultation.
Got it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Perfect. That script is going to set a buyer expectation just by letting them know, like, she's not going to just show up to the house and open up the door. Like, she wants to make a decision to work with us, and she wants them to make a decision to work, like a mutual decision to work together. And there's some things she needs to tell me about real estate before we just go open up the door. Okay. So you guys, if you have access to this, to the essential scripts, go ahead and make a mark for you to use those essential scripts and just read through the ones that were on page 14 in your daily lead generate, not daily lead generating, daily script and role playing session. So we're going to move down to the buyer representation agreement. So basically we've already gone through a buyer wants and needs analysis. We've already gone through the steps for the transaction, and we've gotten to the part of the end of the consultation where we're face to face with the client. We've given them all of the things that make you a valuable agent. And this is not you like selling yourself like, so I am the best agent in this area. It's like just being honest about what your experience is, what you know about real estate, how you can navigate through uncomfortable parts of the transaction, and then saying, so, as I mentioned in the beginning of our meeting, we were going to have 4 objectives for meeting today. And the final one was going to be to make a decision if we would work together. And Mr. Buyer, I'm still going to go out and show you the property that we agreed to see today because, I asked you come in and meet with me for this, and in return I would be happy to open up that door for you. However, if you feel like after sitting with me for the last 45 minutes that it's an opportunity for us to kind of nurture the relationship and hire me to work with you as your designated agent, then we've gotten to the part of that. That's our fourth part of the objection for this meeting, or objective for this meeting. So the goal now for you is to have them agree to conclude the representation, the meeting by signing the representation agreement. So buyer representation agreement, it is a legal document that formalizes your relationship with the buyer. And it details the services that you're willing to provide and that you're able to provide, and that the LREC says you're providing to your client during the relationship that you represent them. That's outlined in the representation agreement. And it's going to protect you from spending the time, valuable time with a buyer just going to walk out the door and go use somebody else. But you do know that it is that it's a easy exit agreement. So if somebody agrees to working with you, and then you work with them for a couple of months and you don't make good on your promises, you'll just rip it up and back out, and there's really nothing you can do about it. Okay, so we're going to practice the close for the agreement scripts. But you guys should also review and practice handling scripts, practice objection handling for exclusivity scripts prior to your first buyer consultation. So I basically just kind of rolled through my script. It's pretty simple. It's like, okay, so when I brought you in here, I told you there were going to be 4 objectives for the meeting. I was going to teach you how to buy real estate. I was going to review your motivation. I was going to teach you how to buy real estate. I was going to tell you how I work and answer your questions. And then we were going to make a decision if we were going to work together. So here we are. How do you like it? Do you have any questions about the buying process? Do you have any questions about me? No, I love everything that you said, Stephanie. You're so smart. I didn't think of any of that. My last agent didn't tell me any of that. And then I go, fantastic. So are you willing to hire me exclusively as your agent? Period. Hand him the pen. Get him to sign on the line. On page 15 of Elemental Script book, there are other scripts for getting the close and getting the objection handling done so that you can close the deal and get the agreement signed. Okay. It's a really important script to have and have mastered, because at this point, if you haven't agreed, if you've gone through this consultation and you still don't know where you stand with the client, it's there's more questions that they have that you haven't been able to answer. So and I don't know what the elemental script handling looks like, but I'm telling you guys, if you get to this point and you're like, so are you willing to work with me? And they're like, we're just not sure yet. You have more work to do. Like it's a simple question of like, did I not answer all of your questions about the home buying process? Or like, what are your reservations? It's going to be a lot of things like your experience, or I mean, it really could be anything. It could be experience. It could be that you had you didn't answer certain parts of the of the buying process thoroughly, or you just didn't give them enough time to ask questions. But I think that if you can get to this part, and you could generally, you'll get them to agree to sign. I think most of our Keller Williams agents who are using buyer consultations are going to have the customer agree to be a client at this point, because I don't think everybody's doing buyer consultations and even asking upfront for them to sign this document, and they know what they're doing or what they're even signing. And I'm pretty confident that's a fair assessment. Collections and saved home. This is get insights on what your buyer truly wants in a home. This is all in your Keller Williams, your KW Command database. So when I mentioned earlier that the document for the buyer consultation had insights in it, and I don't really like screenshot the neighborhoods that I think they're going to be interested in, this is where I set it up. Let's see. It says so clients are creating collections on your KW site and on your app, and they're able to view the listings in those collections within their contact record. They can add and update these collections of saved homes, and it notifies you like in your command if they save something or they make any changes to anything. I just like that you can kind of go in there and like click around and see like what they were looking at. And by the way, the database is really pretty. The way it presents the information to the client, the way the client receives it, it's attractive. Like it looks pretty. How do you think the collections help you to inform your buyer in the buyer consultation process? These snapshots. Anybody know why these collections are helping the buyer presentation?
I'm not sure.
Well, I think because they're hyper focused. I think they're incredibly focused and super insightful. Like not only are they giving you, I'm going to go back a little bit to this screen. Not only are they giving you like the general, okay, they're layered, and I like the layering of the insights. I like that they're available for you to see geographically. They're laid out like the MLS as far as the listings go. But when you click on them, interactive is probably not the right word, but they're super intuitive, maybe is what I'm trying to say. And they can be broken down into very hyper-focused neighborhoods, and that's really important. So if somebody says like really want to be in Beauchene, it's going to give them everything that they need to know and familiarize themselves with the buyer's needs from Beauchene. So the trends of what's happening in that neighborhood.
I have a current client that loves it because it allows her to narrow down school districts.
Okay, see, that's something that I haven't really came across yet, but I like that. That's good. Anybody else has somebody who's using their insights and their clients are like, yeah, this is important. This has been good. Nope. Okay. Next page, align your guide, customize your guide in Command. So in Command, you have the ability to customize your buyer guide to fit exactly how your business runs. You can add or remove steps or edit the information within the steps. You also can reorder the steps in the guide, and it's designed to walk you and your clients through the process of buying a home, and it'll help you while tracking their progress throughout the process in the app. I'm going to demonstrate how you can customize your buyer guide. Wait, what does that say? This afternoon, you should go ahead and review your articles at the articles at answers.kw.com and map out the steps that you need to do in your business using the activity guide on pages 19 and 21 of your participation guide. Basically, go in here and get your stuff started. Like somebody asked me earlier, and I apologize, I don't know anybody's names or whatever, but how to get your guide started. This screen right here is where it all starts. You're going to go down to designs, and you're going to go to your guide builder, and you're going to start building your guide. And I want you guys to start doing that today if you're going to use your design guides through Command. If you're going to use something else, then start doing that today. Go build it out in Canva or whatever and get your guide going. If you want to reorder your steps in the guide, it's easy. You just have to like literally just move stuff around. I'm not going to show you on my side because I don't use it. Like, and I knew that was going to be a problem when I sat down for this class a couple of weeks ago. I said, "Oh, I'm ready to teach this Ignite class," and then I was like, "Oh, Lord have mercy! They want me to build my guide out in Command, and I already have one, and I really like it. So I'm not going to rebuild my guide for you guys. But if you all have any opportunity, even want to get together and do like a mastermind, meet up at a coffee shop or whatever and go through and build your guides together, I think that's always a fun time too. And it's a good opportunity to network with other agents in the market center. So what about some ahas for our lesson today? Based on what you guys have learned today, what do you guys need to do to prepare for your buyer consultation appointment? Come on, you can't go to sleep on me yet. What are some things that you guys need to do today and in the next few days to be ready for your buyer consultation appointment? Somebody.
I'm going to get my buyer packet together. I have a listing packet already, but I don't have a packet for buyers. So I'm going to put that together.
Okay, perfect. That's a
I'm going to use yours as a guide.
Okay.
And then insert other things to personalize it.
Right, perfect. Anybody else has anything that they're going to start doing today to be ready for the consultation? And you guys, you can't miss this one. I've said it a couple of times, so this will be proof that you were paying attention. I'm sad. Nobody wants to practice the scripts for setting the appointments and practice and going through the role play on their consultation.
I'll practice my scripts.
Thank you.
I'll practice too.
So here's the truth. If you can't practice your presentation, it's going to be painful when you sit down with somebody to do it. Okay. You should know your presentation, like it's your presentation. So I hope that you're incredibly confident in it when you sit down, because it's yours. Like if there's a part of this that you're like you can see me today, right? Like I couldn't answer anything on the app for you guys because I don't use it. So if this was my class that I was teaching, I wouldn't even have it in there. I would be like, and ask the Market Center to do a class on apps. I'm not going to try to preach to you or teach you on something that I don't know about. So if you're going to stand in front of folks and try to show them that you're the expert, you better know your stuff. Like know your packet. The other thing is you're going to need to practice the scripts for the objection handling. A good buyer, a buyer who is serious and ready to commit, is going to have a lot of questions. You should almost be fearful of anybody who's really ready to take on this voyage of purchasing a home with a relatively complete stranger, or as some of you guys are, a new agent who may not have a whole lot of experience and doesn't try to pick it apart and ask a lot of questions. The experience that I have with that is if I have somebody who just sits there and is just like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, right, I get it, sure, are you ready to sign? Yeah, we're signed. They're gonna ghost me. You know, they're not involved. Like the people who are like, okay, can you explain that to me? Or what does that mean? Or well, what would you do if this happened? They're not trying to debunk me or make me feel like I don't know what I'm doing. They're truly engaged and they're trying to learn, and it's my job to teach them. So if you're going to be here teaching them and they're going to be asking questions, you need to know how to answer those questions. So the best way to prepare yourself for the objection handling and for the questions is going to be what? I already said it.
Practice your
Practice
scripts.
scripts.
Yes. Knocking it out the park. Before your first buyer consultation appointment, review and practice the buyer scripts on pages 18 through 22 in that Elementals script book, and customize your buyer presentation in Command. Okay. Let's see, what's next? Ahas to achievement. How many screens do I have? Lord. Okay, we're not that far from done. Perfect. So has anybody want to share how their thinking's changed or what ideas or mindsets they've been introduced to today? Sorry, yawning. Or what you feel differently about what was meaningful today, or how much you guys love me, any of that? Let's share.
We love you, Stephanie.
Who loves me? Who's that?
Papa Vinny.
Papa Vinny, how are you?
A little under the weather today, but I'm here.
Well, I'm sorry you're not feeling good, but I am glad you joined us.
I mean, I think the aha is to me, you have to be prepared before you go to these presentations. If not, it's going to be terrible for you and them.
Yeah, it's going to be painful.
Yeah, but getting as much information as you can get from the buyer, it narrows the search, makes your life a lot easier, and theirs too, really. So you don't have to go out there and show them 100 different properties. You can narrow the search. You know?
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff.
I learned that lesson pretty hard a few months back. So,
Papa Vinny, you were in my buyer consultation earlier this year, were you not?
yes, I was, and you sat down with me, and you on the money. You just put it out there quick. So one day, hopefully, everybody will be there too. I mean, like I tell everybody, you know what? Stephanie was sitting where we were sitting when she first started, and listen to her now. I mean, she's incredible. You're incredible.
So the one question I want you to answer, if you don't mind, to anybody who hasn't had a chance to sit in on a buyer consultation appointment or our class that we've had, how much of what I said today do you go, oh my God, she said that exact thing the day she did the buyer consultation? Did you hear some terms and some key phrases in there? You were like, she didn't say it differently either time.
Absolutely. I mean, the key points were it's always there. It's the same thing.
So the aha that I had when I learned the buyer consultation and went through that process with the team that I was on, and this is what I hope that some of you guys can take away today, is that that is the blessing of the script, is not feeling like you have left anything out, and there's no disparage to your clients for being like, oh, you know what? Crapola. I told that other client that thing, but I forgot to tell this client. When you get so good with the consultation that you know it like in your sleep and you have all the key points, you can do a more consistent job with your clients and prepare them for what's ahead and not feel like you did any kind of disservice. And so that was my aha. That's what changed my mindset about doing a buyer consultation, was I felt like we were all prepared to take the next step in the buying process. Does anybody agree with that after hearing it today and being like, yeah, I can see why it's not like a punishment. It's more like a big first step.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, mistake I made when I first started, I might have said this before to everybody that's brand new. I didn't embrace the scripts from the beginning, from the get-go. That was a mistake. And I still struggle with it, but I'm doing better now with, trying to study them, and, my wife's helping me out with different objections and stuff. But embrace the scripts. Don't make the same mistake I did. Embrace them. That's all I can say.
Wonderful. Good information.
Well, Stephanie,
Yes.
I'm a new agent as well. I'm very new, and that's my biggest fear. Like, I'm practicing my strips or whatever, but my biggest fear is like they're gonna ask me something that I don't know, and I'm fairly new. I've never been a real estate agent before, so that's why I'm taking in all the information that you're giving us, because you're being very helpful, and I just want to be as good as you one day and be able to just sit, I can just like get in there and just, explain everything and be able to answer those questions, that they have.
So I love your honesty and sharing that fear, because that's a legitimate fear, and it's what keeps a lot of us in that stale place in our business early on, where we feel like I don't know really, I know how scared I'm going to be when they ask me something I don't have an answer. And it is okay to not know, as long as you have a way to get information. It is okay to sit with a client and say, you know what, buyer, I'm not really sure. Like, I remember being like, I don't really know all the ins and outs of the closing costs. Let me get some information for you so you know exactly what you're paying for in closing costs. Like, do you mind if I can get that back to you this afternoon? And then I learned about it. And guess what? Yeah, I have been in your shoes. I've sat with really really impressive agents, regardless if they were doing a ton of business or they just sounded sophisticated. And I was like, I'm never going to be able to talk like that in the front of people and say it with such confidence. And I'm not where I was, and I'm not where I'm going to be. And I still, to this day, have clients that'll ask me something and I go, huh, that's actually interesting. I can't believe in 5 years, nobody's ever asked me that. I never really thought about it before. Why don't you give me a minute? Let me see if I can figure something out. And I'm going to come back to you with not only one answer, but I'll give us a couple of options of how we might can handle it. And that's okay. But I do feel like having the guide here in front of you, and that's going to take a lot of the guide is leverage to your business. It's having something in front of you that you can use as like, it's like practicing for a play and having the play script in your hand, right? Like
Right.
and it makes me a little bit less overwhelmed to have my personal buyer consultation packet because it is shorter and I do know what's in it. That I can just kind of keep going back to and referring to. So if you can get really good at your buyer consultation packet and know it like the back of your hand, make it yours, you'll give them all the information that they need, and there'll be a lot less questions that you can't answer, and you'll learn along the way. The other thing that I would say to that is don't be afraid to shadow another agent. The culture of Keller Williams is to share and to help other agents build a business worth having. If I'm going on a buyer consultation and you need and you're like, hey, can I sit in on that? Or by God, if you have a buyer consultation and you're like, I just can't do this on my own, like, can I A, practice with you the day before, and B, can you come with me and like guide me? Y'all, I'm coming. If you call and say, Stephanie, I need you on a buyer consultation tomorrow because I'm about to do this and I don't want to not be able to answer questions,
Right.
we'll put it on the calendar. So find some people in your market center that are willing to help you and guide you. Use your PC coaching program and use the tools that are out there. And I promise you, in just a couple of days, a couple of weeks, you're going to start to feel so much relief from all of that stress. And as you get better at doing it and do it in front of more people, you're going to feel more confident. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Okay. Well, we only have a few more screens left, and I'm gonna hopefully I have an 11:30 appointment, and I was supposed to have an 11:30 appointment near the market center, and now I'm in Covington because of the change in the location. So I may cut us off just a few minutes early so I can get where I need to be. But I do want to go over these last few screens because they're to help you guys keep your business moving, right? Your goals that you guys have committed to, the 10 contacts added a day, 10 conversations a day, 10 handwritten notes, and 10 home previews per week. You want to continue to do that even during especially during this time during your Ignite session, so you can be practicing what you're learning in Ignite and trying to convert contacts to contracts. I kind of have a joke, and I think it's mine, but I probably saw it somewhere else and I'm just stealing it. The difference between a contact and a contract is the R, and the R is the relationship. So that's good stuff, right? I mean, I know I'm a little cheesy, but I like it. So you're adding yeah, thank you. So you're adding contacts on a daily basis, and you're communicating with them and building relationships in hopes that you're going to be able to change those contacts into real estate contracts. And so every day you should be practicing you should be doing your job as a real estate agent, lead generating, lead follow-up, setting appointments, negotiating contracts, and practicing scripts and role play. Those are your 5 jobs as a real estate agent. We still go over those, huh? We were going over them early in Ignite. Have you heard those 5 jobs before? Lead generate, lead follow-up, set appointments,
Yep.
negotiate contracts, and script and role play.
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So in order to do that, a big part of your day should be time blocking and making time for the lead generating phone calls or door knocking or whatever it is that you do to lead generate. And it should also include time for you to practice your scripts and role play, so that when you do have conversations with people, you're eloquently speaking and you have a basis for the conversation. Of course, they have this do not call compliance thing or whatever, and y'all you read it and don't don't call anybody who's not on the do not call list. But I mean, whatever, they call me all the time, and I know I'm on a do not call list. So the next thing that you guys are going to do is, it's a great time if you're going to break for lunch or whatever, but you have about at least 30 minutes until lunch. If you have time set aside to spend some time this afternoon, lead generating or using your calling scripts, or starting on your buyer consultation package, or using your scripts for your conversations about setting appointments for your buyer consult. So use some time for that today. Also use some time to update your contacts in Command and update your follow-ups in Command. So anybody that you talk to during your lead generating today, anybody that you get on the phone and you offer to set up for a buyer consultation, you want to make sure you move them in your Command from contacts to appointments set. You want to update their insights, make sure that they're on property searches, that they're on drip campaigns, and they're getting the information that they need. So you'll spend a little bit of time doing that. And then this contract practice, I'm not really even sure what that's about, but I'm assuming that it just means like, spending some time looking at your contracts that you have and familiarizing yourself with the language and familiarizing yourself with the forms that you need for compliance for the market center. And if that's not what that means, you should do what I just said anyway. If you need anything through Command or Connect, there are some options for you. Oops, hold on, I went to the wrong screen. There are some options for you here. One, of course, is going to be to reach out to our local market center and ask for assistance with getting set up in Command. If you're a new agent and you don't have a login, or you haven't done anything in Command, there are some incredible videos. Marty, what's his last name? What's the guy that's on YouTube? Marty something. He has 66 videos to help you get started in Command. He's incredible, and he is ultimately how I got my Command database up and running, by watching his short videos to practice specific tasks in Command. Also, the office has Command training and different modules for getting Command going. And then, of course, here you see KW Connect has video recorded sections as well. So use some of your time in your time blocking schedule for learning, for technology learning. Okay. Let's see.
It's Marty Miller, Stephanie.
Yep, that's him. That's him. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Make your success list. If you don't have something like this, you can pull one of these. You can either do a blank page or pull one out from a toolkit. This is your daily 10-4. The things that you're going to do that you just had before, right? Like your 4 things that you have to do 10 of: the preview property, set appointments, do follow-ups, and send notes. Use this list, a daily like success tracker. I have something like this. I call it my top 3. And I use it for anything. Like, even if mine's like have to pick up your dry cleaning, like, hey, we're all human. We have to make sure that the important stuff, the tasks, are up front of us. But you can also use your daily priorities in your tracker in your Command. So don't forget about that. And try to make sure you prioritize stuff too. Like, what's really important, as far as business and personal stuff. Make sure you have a time set out in your day for all your personal things that need to be addressed as well. And then the last thing, guys, unless you have any questions about today and about the consultation, which one thing is, I need to give you guys my email address real fast, because I want to be able to share my consultation packet with you. So get a pen and paper and write down Stephanie Grass, STEPHANIE GRAS. That's S like Mardi Gras at the end, at kw.com is my email address. Send me a emails saying how much you loved me today, because I am I have words of affirmation is high on my love languages. Tell me how grateful you are for my class and how you can't wait to meet me and how you can't wait for me to do this Ignite again. So I will not be afraid to do it next time. And then I will send you, as a return for your all your fancy words, I will send you my consult. And if you can, unless you have any questions now, go ahead and use this QR code and fill in our survey on how class was today. Does anybody have any questions or need anything from me? If we can wrap it up here in the next few minutes, we'll call it a day.
Where's the survey located?
So see right here, I just have it up on my screen. That's this QR code. You should be able to, with your cell phone, open up your cell phone and go to the camera, hold it up in the front of the screen, and it's going to open up your website for the QR code through your Safari app if you have a smartphone. If not, you can copy this link, that www.surveymonkey.com.
Okay.
So here in the SurveyMonkey, you're going to put my name, Stephanie Grass.
Okay.
You'll hit OK. It'll ask you for the Market Center. Tell them Market Center 94 and hit OK, and then go to next.
All right.
It's asking you, how would you rate the effectiveness of learning in your module? And you guys can be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. Generally speaking, if this was the old Ignite, you would definitely be like extremely effective. I don't know if I did as superb of a job today because of it being a new lesson, but really they're asking you about the module. So if you felt like this was a good module, the Ignite portion of it, then go ahead and give them your opinion on it. How do you rate the effectiveness of the daily success habits? How confident were you to engage in productive activities in the afternoons or in the daily success habits of learning in the modules? Like, do you feel like you can do them on your own? And were there any activities in which the purpose was unclear? And then rate yourself. And then if you had, what did you expect to get out of Ignite training? You know, systems or scripts or whatever.
What is the I'm sorry, what is the market code again?
94.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then they want to know, did your buyer consultation meet your expectations? Did it meet it, exceed it, or was it below your expectations? Did you cover anything that you learned? Anything that you learned today that was unexpected? All right, I'm getting emails. Thank you, Natasha. And just kind of keep going through that. They have a couple of questions about the actual, like, did you learn it? Was there something that you thought you'd get in class that you didn't? And did you have enough time? How confident are you in learning applying those modules to business? And then rate the quality of the facilitator. Question number 13. Number 14, also about the facilitator. Was the facilitator able to answer and help you with your questions? Rate the quality of the training materials and the scripts. Gosh, they have a lot of questions. Oof. Just keep going through. I'm at question 20. I don't know how many they're going to ask. Okay, 23. Yeah, 23 questions. There you go. So once you guys have a chance, finish that, fill it out, and that will give KW some information back on what they thought of the what you guys thought of the module. So I was honest in my feedback, I'm glad I was able to share my buyer consultation packet with you guys. It was a little bit of a lengthy class, and if we had to go through setting up the designs, I think that would have taken us a lot more time. So maybe we didn't have enough time for all of the activities. But part of that was my fault because I shared what I feel is a better platform for the buyer consultation, which was my form. But hopefully, if you guys need to go back through the module, you have the information here and you can just revisit some of that, or we can get you some further training on putting the design together in the KW command. Okay. Anybody need anything before we separate?
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thank you for this. Really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you guys being here. I'm grateful for you, and I will send an email this evening because I do have appointments all afternoon. I won't be available until about 4:30 or 5 o'clock, but I promise to send you the buyer consultation before the end of the weekend. So just be patient with me. And if you need anything, you got my email address. Y'all are welcome to reach out. I'd be happy to set time to talk with you guys either over the phone or we can set up something face to face. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Y'all have
Thanks
a great
for
weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.